What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Set Bet Spike right here on FTN Network, Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and Eric Young here with you. As you saw, we are really excited about week 3 of the NFL slate. We have the full slate of games here with some spreads. We'll roll through all these games. You guys have any questions, you can certainly leave them there in the comment section. If you're watching on Game Plus Network, you can always hop on over to our FTN Network YouTube page. Leave them in the comment section. Tag myself or Eric Young. Also on Twitter at the Eric Young, at Chris Meaney. We'll get you set up for week 3 of the NFL season. Just taking a look at the Sunday games and the Monday game as well. You have any starter sit stuff? We can roll through some of that, but we will try to call some touchdowns, roll through the games, see who we like from a pick standpoint. And man, week 3 already. EY, it just kind of like you wait for it, and then it happens. It's here. And then all of a sudden we're like a month into the season. It's just, it's crazy, man.
And we'll blink and it'll be week 16. And, it's just how football works. It seems like that offseason drags and drags. To me, I don't know about you, but it just seems like the offseason gets longer and longer. Like I'm thinking about it way before I should. I'm trying to read and find information that is not available to anybody in the world. And then boom, you blink and we're in work through week 3. And there's some real cool games, some real cool stuff happening. Some surprises fantasy wise, like there always is. A couple injuries. I mean, tons to talk about, man.
Yeah, there really is a ton to talk about. So we don't know a ton about the injuries. Of course, Friday's a very big day for practice reports. James Conner didn't get on the practice field on Wednesday. We talked on Tuesday's episode about how that backfield could potentially look in Arizona. We could address it again when we get to the Cardinals, but hopefully you got guys like Darrell Williams, Benjamin, or Darrell Williams, Benjamin. Those guys certainly should be, on your roster, and we'll see. If there's no Connor, we had that conversation. I think Williams is a guy that maybe you want to take a look at, but we'll get there in just a little bit. Arizona's definitely dealing with some injuries. They had a big W last week. Let's start here with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. So we have the Chiefs here at 5.5-point favorites. They were 6.5. They've actually dropped down, which surprised me a little bit. This is one of my favorite picks of the week. I'm not going to overthink this. I know the Colts aren't as bad as what we've seen over the first 2 weeks, but my goodness, EY, they have looked absolutely awful. Having Michael Pittman back in the lineup this week, if that is the case, will certainly help this offense and help Matt Ryan. But Matt Ryan has looked awful to start his Colts career. He's not really, I want to give him a bit of a pass last week because there was really nobody that he was throwing the rock to, right? It's pretty bad. And they got spanked by the Jags last week. So I'm not overthinking this. Chiefs look good. I think they're going to be able to score a bunch of points. We'll see if Shaquille Leonard gets back in the lineup. We'll see if Pittman gets back in the lineup. But give me the Chiefs by a touchdown. And I know it's pretty chalky, but I think Travis Kelce finds the end zone this week.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you, man. From what we've seen from the Indianapolis Colts, there's just no way that they're going to be able to keep pace and score with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like last week's effort by the Colts was, it was bad. This is a team that I think, I can only speak for myself, but I can say that I thought was going to be very, very good. We've heard all offseason how good this offensive line is. This is probably the best offensive line that Matt Ryan has ever played behind. They got the threat of Jonathan Taylor, one of, if not the best running back in the league. Michael Pittman's going to take this huge step, which I think he did. But if he doesn't play, like someone else has got to step up, and nobody did. Like how long have we been talking about, the sleeper of the year, Paris Campbell? No, non-existent. Pierce, the rookie, is hurt. There's all these other guys that, it's kind of makes you sick to your stomach, trying to start anybody from that team. I think the Kansas City defense, if you can get your hands on them this week, could be a real good grab. Matt Ryan looks cooked.
He does.
And until he shows me otherwise, that's where I'm putting him. I've got him in a 2-quarterback league, and I told you last week I was talking, and our good buddy Joe Pisapia, and we all went with Goff. And man, were we right? Think about that sentence. I started Jared Goff over Matt Ryan, and we're super happy about it.
And you know what? When we were chatting, it wasn't even close to me. I didn't even hesitate for a second. I was like, you know what? Goff. And moving forward, Goff, guys like Goff and Wentz, these are interesting guys to start in a super flex league as your second quarterback, to your point, right? Yeah, you can't start any Colt not named Jonathan Taylor or Pittman. If Pittman plays, you're playing this guy. I'm going to have him ranked as a borderline top 12, top 15 wide receiver, even with the injury. I just think he's that good. And he is quarterback proof. We saw it in week 1 with Matt Ryan. We saw it last year with Carson Wentz. But yeah, there's nothing going on here. You mentioned Paris Campbell. I thought that this guy, I'm not even a Paris Campbell fan, but I just thought immediately, no Campbell? Who's Matt Ryan
That's what
throwing
I
the
thought.
football? This guy's probably going to get a lot of targets. He was out there more than anybody, but he didn't do anything. He gave you a big fat 0. It does sound like Pittman and it does sound like Alec Pierce are going to return this week, but these are risky plays. I like Pierce long-term as a potential number 2 inside this offense, but it's going to be a lot of Taylor, maybe catching balls out of the backfield, Naheem Hines, Pittman. So I'm staying away from all things Colts. I don't feel like this is a trap. Maybe I could be wrong. I'm picking KC in my survivor leagues as well. I've moved on here to week 3. I'm not overthinking this. I'm going.
You're the one. You're the only one that's made it this far in survivor leagues.
There's a couple of us.
Man.
But yeah, I just try to keep things really simple in survivor and try not to get too cute. I have a couple rules, maybe road teams and divisions. I try to stay away from Thursday Night Football too, but Baltimore over the Jets week 1, and then last week I just stuck with the Bills over the Titans. So this week I'm going KC. I think, there's, aside from Travis Kelce, we like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You're still in on him, right? I mean, we liked him before the draft. Great draft value. He's currently a top 5 running back. His rushing prop sitting at 46.5. I know this Colts defense, when they're fully healthy, they're really good, especially against the run. Leonard has been missing from this team. He's a huge loss, but 46.5 for a team that's basically touchdown favorites. I'm in on this rushing prop for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I wouldn't be shocked if he found the end zone UI.
Yeah, I love him. I gotta definitely, he was my first choice. Obviously, not great not great odds, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire plus 100. That'll probably be my big bet of the day. And that's the money. That's the one I'll bet the most on, so I can get a little return on. He's looked really good, man. We talked about it a bunch in the offseason. I know I was saying, look, I mean, we haven't seen the real him. We saw his rookie season. We saw last season where he was hurt and had some weird sickness where he lost a bunch of weight. Now I think we're meeting the real CEH for the first time, and man, it's good to know you. He's looked really, really good, and as far as a back, he's perfect for the system. He can run. Good speed, can catch the ball, runs good routes, is decent in pass protection. He will come off the field, but really, there's no reason for him to come off the field. He can do everything, and that's the kind of back that Andy Reid likes. So I think we're going to get the real full CEH experience this year, and that will be my big bet of the day. Him to score.
Love it. I like maybe total yards for him, rushing yards. We like him to find the end zone. What he's doing in basically a limited role, it just shows you the kind of upside he has. Week 1, 7 carries, 42 yards. He's got 3 catches, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns. 3 catches on 3 targets for 32 yards. Week 2, 8 carries, 74 yards. He had that big long run towards the end of that game on Thursday night against the Chargers. But again, showing his upside. Exactly what he can do, 52-yard run. And then he had 4 targets, 4 grabs for 44 yards. So we're sitting here after 2 weeks. He's got 7 catches for over 70 yards. He's got 15 carries for over 100 yards, and he's got 2 total scores. So big CEH fans here on this show. We like him, and we like the direction. What's his catch prop? I'm just seeing if we can find something before we move on from him. He might be at 1.5. He's at 15.5 receiving yards. I like that. Even though this is a game that they could control. 2.5 grabs and may stay away, even though we just told you he's got 7 grabs through 2. He's minus 115 for 3 catches. So CEH, Travis Kelce probably has his way. And then I'm staying away from the wide receivers in KC. Mahomes is doing a really good job of spreading them around. Juju, 1 good game, 1 bad game. MVS is nowhere to really be found, but we like Kansas City here in this game. Let's move on. The next game that we have on tap, the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. The Ravens had that big lead in the fourth quarter, in the second half, really, against Miami, and they blew that. A lot of injuries to the secondary right now. J.K. Dobbins practiced in full on Wednesday. We need to see about Damian Harris, if Damian Harris is going to be a go this week. If he's not going to be a go this week, Ramondre Stevenson, you know what? I don't know if I'm getting involved with his props, but Ramondre Stevenson, to me, will be a solid low-end RB2 with upside to catch a few passes, get some goal line work. So that's the biggest news to monitor. 2 running backs in each backfield. Is Dobbins going to play? If Dobbins does play, I'd still be hesitant to start him. I think he'd be on a bit of a pitch count. What I've seen from Baltimore over the first couple of weeks, and we've seen it in the past, it's Lamar. Lamar is rushing. His rushing prop is up near 50. We have him for over 50 yards in our projections. He's running. You're getting a little bit of Drake. You're getting a little bit of Mike Davis. Then you'll get a little bit of J.K. Dobbins. It's going to be a crowded backfield like Bateman, like Andrews. We like Lamar. From the Pat side of things, I don't like a whole lot. I told you about this team. Not a huge fan of the direction they're going. Jacoby Myers had a great game last week, a lot of targets. Then I saw that he was scheduled for an MRI this week, so I don't know what his status is. If he doesn't play, maybe that's better news for maybe Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker get in there a little bit. But I think this is going to be a grind offensively. We're not going to see a whole lot. Low scoring. I'm not really interested in anything, to be honest with you, when it comes to touchdowns. Maybe a Lamar rushing or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to probably stay away from the Patriots in general. I'd like Rashard Bateman to score here. And I'm going to put, a little bit on both Harris and Ramondre Stevenson because of the odds to score. I think if they score, that's how they're going to score. That's how the Patriots want to play. They want to run the ball. Harris looked great last week, but might not play. And if he doesn't play, Ramondre Stevenson on DK is plus 170. I'll be hammering that, but I'm going to bet on them both to score. If one scores, it covers both bets. If Harris doesn't play, you get that money back. And then Ramondre Stevenson, I think, is probably the most likely Patriot to score. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot on much here because I think they're just, books are waiting to see what's going to happen with these guys. If we're going to get Harris in the game, if we're going to get J.K. Dobbins in the game, I think we'll see J.K. Dobbins. But again, it's going to be a limited role. It's a really risky start. Would you start this guy? It all depends on the context and, the makeup of your league. But I think he probably only touched the ball like 7 to 8 times. It's not really anything I'm too excited about.
Yeah, I think if you drafted him, I don't know if you have a choice but to play him. Because of where you took him at this point with other injuries to the running back. Like you said, it's all circumstantial. And trying to give fantasy advice, people are like, oh, should I play? Like, I don't know, man.
It depends.
Are you in a 16-team league? Then yeah, you probably play him. Are you in an 8-team league? Then no, you probably shouldn't. So there's so much context that's required to tell people what to do with that kind of thing. But I think probably the draft capital you spent on him, not that he was high, but he was definitely drafted early enough where I feel like if he plays, you got to play him. And I feel like they've been careful with him. Like he was at practice, he was hobbling around, but he was at practice, practicing and doing drills. And it's not like he had a no contact jersey on. I think the Baltimore Ravens believe that they can win football games without him. I think they're a better team with him, but they're convinced that Kenny and Drake can carry the ball and they're just going to be fine, which they're right. So,
yeah, I don't have anything else to add here. I don't even see any Bateman receiving yards. Belichick does a really good job of taking away the opposing team's best player. I'm sure the focus will be on Bateman and Andrews. But I do like Bateman in this game. Continue to roll him out. He's looked really good through 2 games. Very, very explosive. And just keep an eye on the backfields, guys. Stevenson, I would roll out Stevenson over Dobbins. I'll say that if there's no Harris in the game. Who do you like to win? Pats, Ravens? I'm going to take the Ravens, I think.
Yeah, I'm taking Ravens until the Pats can tell me that, convince me that they can run like a decent offense. I don't know if I can bet on them at all. I like Mac Jones. I like some of the players on this team, but they haven't shown me much yet.
They're just going through something. It seems like they really miss.
I got him on like every team, and I'm just waiting for him.
Yeah, I got him. I got a lot of shares too. I'm waiting as well. I don't think it's going to happen unless Harris goes away. When Harris is healthy, he seems to be the lead. And
he's looked good.
Probably going to be the goal line back. And he has looked good. Yeah. I like Stevenson overall as a player. I like his future in this league. I think he can catch a few more passes even with Harris there. But if Harris goes down at any moment, we definitely have a true bell cow back in Stevenson. We can't really say the same about Harris because he's not totally involved through the air. A little bit here and there. But this Pats team looks like they're missing Josh McDaniels. So spend enough time on them. I don't really want to talk about them anymore. Houston and Chicago. The Bears are checking in at 2.5-point favorites here. Man, talk about a team that doesn't like to throw the football. Oh, my goodness. Justin Fields has 28 pass attempts through 2 games, got 191 yards. Even down a couple of scores in that game last week against Green Bay, they still kind of refuse to throw the football. I don't know what you do with any Chicago Bears weapons. I've cut my ties with Cole Kmet. Actually, in a couple leagues, I just have him on my bench. I'm not willing to take another 0 for a third straight week in a row. Can't even say it's on him. He did have one drop, but he's not getting any targets. Darnell Mooney has 2 catches through 2 games, -4 yards in his last game. I don't think you can start any Bear outside of Dave Montgomery. And Dave Montgomery is getting a lot of work, a lot of touches. He's catching balls out of the backfield last year in his last 8 or 9 games. Don't quote me. I looked it up, though. I think it was his last 8 games. He averaged 5 catches per game. So it seems he's the number one target. And the Chicago Bears team, this is going to be another grind. I don't see a lot happening offensively. Is there anything you like from this game? Hammer the Texans. Yeah, Alex in the house. I like the Texans. I think the Texans could win this game.
I say this on the hockey show. Don't bet like I do. Like, okay, just don't do it. I've adopted betting on goal scoring and touchdowns, the most impossible thing to bet on ever. But I have this feeling about Darnell Mooney showing up. I mean, I feel the Chicago Bears, they're trying to ease Fields in, and look, they're not trying to win games. I don't care what anybody says. They're playing for the draft. They're waiting. They've got a ton of young players. I think Fields it can be a decent quarterback in the league. We have yet to see that, but I mean, he has these moments where like, oh, there it is, and then it disappears, and oh, there it is, and then it disappears. Mooney and him had a real connection last year. I don't think that goes away just in a few months. No team has given up more passing yards than the Houston Texans. No, so I think if you're going to do it, Mooney. And I think if you're desperate at wide receiver, Mooney is a guy, he's never going to be this cheap ever again, probably, in my opinion, for the rest of the year. I think he shows up in a bigger way. Look at Chicago's not going to throw the ball a ton. They're just not. They've shown us that. It's just not going to happen. But I think if they do throw it, that's who they want to throw it to. Teams are going to try taking him away, so we're going to find out if he can be a number one. I still believe in Mooney. It's been a rough 2 weeks, guys. But let's just hold hands and huddle up and stick in this together. Mooney will score a touchdown this week. That's what I believe.
Oh, baby. There it is. We'll clip that 17-minute mark. Mooney scoring a touchdown. The spot is great. It is fantastic. Having this conversation with Jake the other day, All in Football, you can see on Game Plus Network, is just, well, do they want to throw? Can they get, if this game is a 1-score game, are they just running the ball? If Houston can push the pace a little bit and have some success, does that force Justin Fields and company to throw the football a little bit more? Oh my goodness. I don't know. I believe in Mooney too. I think he's a really good wide receiver, and you're spot on. He could be had. People are dropping him. He was the 3rd most dropped player in Yahoo leagues over the last 48 hours. Cole Kmet was number 1. So people are dropping their players, but at some point they are going to have to throw the football. But clearly they've showed us that they don't want to. They didn't really do anything in the offseason for Justin Fields to help him out through the draft, to help him out through free agency. And here they are through 2 weeks. One game was just, a slip and slide out there in Chicago. And the other one, I thought they'd throw the football a little bit more, but they were content to run. And the offense moved actually a little bit better when they ran the rock. But you like Mooney to score. I think it's, 3.5 catches for him is -145. It's a little bit juice for a guy that's not doing a whole lot. I think I'd rather take the receiving yards on Darnell Mooney, just like he is a deep threat guy. Maybe they hook up just once, like even if it's just 3 catches for Darnell Mooney, maybe he can find a way to rack up 47 yards. He's at 46.5 receiving yards. But I do like the Montgomery 2.5 as plus money. Over 15.5 receiving yards is -120 over at DraftKings. I like that as well. And somebody to keep an eye on, a guy that I talked a lot about, heading into the season, was Nico Collins, a dud week 1. Week 2, he had 9 targets. His catch props at 3.5. I think he's definitely going to be the number 2 in this offense. And I think we'll see Dameon Pierce again continue to handle a lot of the carries. If Lovie Smith goes Rex Burkhead this week, then I don't know what the hell to tell you guys, because it was Pierce, Burkhead, or it was Burkhead, then Pierce. But immediately after the Burkhead week 1 game, Lovie Smith said they need to find a way to give this guy more touches. Clearly, they do. They drafted him. They talked him up.
You're the coach. You're the coach, man.
Just do it. Yeah. What do you
You're
mean?
The coach.
Sometimes I hear these coaches, they hear what the reporters say, and it gets in their head, I feel like. And it's like, then they start to second guess themselves. I think there's coaches out there that can block out the noise, of course, but others I think get trapped. Like Nathaniel Hackett, I would do that all the time. I'd kick that 64-yard field goal all day. Great choice. everyone bashes him all night. Next morning and the next day, he says, "Yeah, I probably made the wrong call." It's like, yeah, he probably did. Damian Pierce. I'm not seeing a rushing attempt prop for him, but if I'd hammer anything over 12.5, I think he lives in the 14-15 range in this game here. So we'll move on. I do like the Texans, actually. I like the under, and I think the Texans win. Do you think the Bears find a way?
I do. I think
Okay.
the Bears find a way. I like the Texans, man. I like the coach. They're scrappy. They got a lot of players that I like to watch play. You were talking about Nico Collins. I think I have Nico Collins on every one of my 800 teams.
Hang on to him. It's worth a stash. Why not?
Oh,
Let's win a little bit.
100%. Man,
Yeah.
I believe in Nico Collins. Have for a couple years. Obviously, Cooks is the guy there, but I think Nico
Yeah.
Collins. They're going to be behind, and they're going to be throwing Davis Mills. I mean, he's not the best quarterback, but
He
he's
doesn't
not
look
afraid to
awful.
throw. He's not afraid
Yeah.
to throw. So,
No, he's not. And big body wide receiver Nico Collins.
yep.
It's too early to give up on him. They drafted him in the third round a couple years ago, so we'll see what happens with him. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But you're right. It is Nico. It is Cooks there first. Okay, this one's interesting. Las Vegas and Tennessee. Right, we saw the Titans get absolutely embarrassed on Monday Night Football. Then to return home, we saw Las Vegas just give up a massive lead in the fourth quarter against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know what the heck Las Vegas was doing, pedal off the metal. They were just cruising in the first half. They were absolutely cruising. They couldn't be stopped. I don't know. I really don't know what happened, but this is a must-win situation for both of these teams. You can't fall 0-3. The Titans, this division is certainly winnable. The same can't be said for Las Vegas, right? You got KC, you got the Chargers, you got the Broncos there, you got Miami's 2-0. It's going to be really tough for the Raiders to make the playoffs as a wildcard team if they don't find a way to win this week. I actually like them to bounce back, but man, something tells me, Vrabel, he's such a good coach back home, how his team got embarrassed. They'll be ready to play, and I think we'll see a lot of Derrick Henry in this game. A lot of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's my belief too. Man, they looked bad. Like they looked not great week one. I'm not taking a lot out of week two. I think the Buffalo Bills, how they're constructed right now, are the best team in the NFL, and I don't think it's close. I think last year offensively they were really hard to stop, and they got Josh Allen running all over the place. Stephon Diggs is one of the best wide receivers in the league, and the defense could slow you down enough for them to win. The defense is good now. This is a good defense. I think maybe a top five in the league, and I don't think it's in any stretch saying this is the number one offense in the league. Um, every week I'm doing a victory lap. I know it, but I don't care. People made fun of me, especially professionals in this industry, laughed and mocked me openly by taking Josh Allen in the second and third round. And I'm pointing back at you and laughing in your face every week. He has the highest floor and the highest ceiling in the NFL, and I want that player on my team.
Oh no, he looks absolutely
You go
unstoppable.
ahead and wait on Kirk Cousins. You go ahead and do that. I'll take Josh Allen in the
Ugh,
third round.
ugh. How about Brady? How about having Brady right now, or Rodgers,
Go
or
ahead.
Russell Wilson, or
You go ahead and wait on
Trey
those
Lance?
guys. Tell
Unfortunately,
me how
Trey Lance.
smart you
But
are when you drafted a quarterback in the 14th round, and I have Josh Allen on every team.
yeah, it's hard to argue, right? I mean, you have the guy with the safest floor and probably the highest ceiling, week in and week out. What he's doing for you, he carries you
Said
and
it
gives you a
all
nice
off
little
season.
base.
Reach
Yeah.
for him. You want this guy on your team. He's going to score 25 points every week.
And he is, and he has, and he's owned Miami, and we'll get there in a second. For this game, there's a couple guys I like to bounce back here. Devontae Adams is a guy that I think will bounce back. He scored a touchdown in week two, but it was very quiet. Week one was just so much Devontae Adams. I think he had a 49% target share. But I think that it's such a must-win game. I'm not a believer at all in this Titans team, to be honest, dude. And especially not defensively. I think they have a lot of younger players in the secondary. We just saw
They
what
can't
Diggs
stop
was able to.
anybody.
They can't stop anyone. I just saw what Diggs was able to do against them. I'm not saying that Adams is going to go for $180 and 3 touchdowns, but over 6.5 catches, absolutely. Over 80 receiving yards, absolutely. I think he finds the end zone as well. They're going to have their hands full with him. And I like I said, I think the Titans are going to do what they can to win this game clearly, like any team would do on a Sunday. That was weird sentence to say. But Derrick Henry I think they're just going to feed him. Like that's their best chance to win the game.
It's
I think
their
they're
only
just going to feed
chance.
them. So
It's your only chance.
84 and a half. We saw a couple dud games from him, a couple floor games. He's saved owners with touchdowns and things like that. But 84 and a half, I think he gets there. And because I think I want to pick one Titan because I actually love the over on this game. I think it's at 44 and a half. I've teased it down in some spots to 40, which I don't actually think you need to do. I think I think the Raiders are going to get 3 touchdowns themselves, 3 or 4 scores, and I think the Titans can get a couple. But if this game does turn into, the Raiders just throwing all over with Adams, Treylon Burks. I think this can be a Treylon Burks coming out party. What you've seen some good things from him, correct? Watching them, I like where
Yeah,
he's headed.
I mean, it's a guy. AJ Brown leaving. Everyone was telling me how Robert Woods is going to be the number one. I was like, we haven't. Robert Woods has never been a number one. Like he's been a good receiver before, but he's never been a number one. That's not who he is. That's not his skill set. That's not who he is as a player. Treylon Burks looks like a number one. He has the skill set of a number one. And you can talk about asthma and overweight and this, that, and the other. Look, man, they took him in the first round. This guy's a real player, and I think he's already proven that. He will continue to get better. But there's no secret. They have to run the ball. Derrick Henry has to touch the ball 25 times if the Titans want to be competitive and win. I don't care if they're up 14 and it's the fourth quarter. He needs to be running the ball. And the offensive line has just got to do a better job against Buffalo. He's being tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It doesn't matter who's carrying the ball. If he's getting touched and getting wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage, there's no running back that can do anything. He's proven that if he can get past that line of scrimmage and get into the secondary, he's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. The offensive line has got to be better.
Well,
they know it. Vrabel knows it. He's one of the best coaches in the league. This will be a competitive game.
Mr. Nice Guy in the house. Good morning. We got Albert in the house.
Everyone.
Good morning, guys. And Mr. Nice Guy chimes in and says Woods is a good wide receiver blocker. He is a good wide receiver blocker.
Awesome.
And that's why he's going to be out there a majority of the time. He's blocking. He's going to do what he can for Henry in this offense and help the depleted offensive line, like you mentioned as well. But the upside lies with Treylon Burks. I've seen enough in 2 games to know that and say that with confidence. Woods will have his moments in PPR leagues, but if you're looking for touchdowns, you're looking for yardage props, it's I think this can be a sneaky offensive fantasy game, guys. I really do. I like the over. I like the Raiders to win the game, and I really like Adams to have a day here. Let's continue to move on. We got all right. So your Bills and your Bills. Your Bills. That's what I'm going to call them. Your Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. My Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, my goodness. 6 passing touchdowns. Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle can't be stopped. This actually should be a really fun game. I'm
really excited to watch
6. Yeah, there's been massive blowouts on the Buffalo side over the past couple of meetings. Josh Allen has definitely had his way with the Dolphins and Tua. He's perfect against the Tua Tagovailoa, but this should be a really good one and a true test here for Miami. This offense looks fast. It looks explosive, but we know how great Buffalo is as well. It's one of the highest total games. I think it's sitting at 53. I just want to double check, guys, for you. 52 and a half. I think Miami, I think Buffalo probably scores 30 in their sleep. These guys don't even punt. Like, they don't punt.
Oh, he punted. That was the first time he's punted in almost a whole season.
I know.
And I think it's just they felt bad. They felt bad for the Titans. It's like, I guess we'll punt. It was like the first time he did punted in 16 games. That is insane.
It is insane. I'll be interested to see how Miami goes about Diggs. Gabriel Davis looks like he's going to be able to return in this game. And Xavier Howard, are they going to try to double Diggs? They're going to try to double Davis. I would assume that they would try to double and take away Stephon Diggs, but good luck, right? So I like Diggs again to continue to have monster showings moving forward until I see otherwise. 82 and a half receiving yards is just too low for me. I think Diggs flirts with 90 or 100 again in this game. I think we'll see a lot of offense. Does Miami find a way to keep it close? The 6.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Look at what we just saw. That was Tua, I think, announced to the NFL world that he has arrived. And, and if he couldn't do it this year with those weapons, Jalen Waddle on one side and Tyreek Hill on the other, then you might as well just get rid of him and start fresh. But he proved, even being down, like that's, a quarterback's job is throwing the ball, but the other job is leading and being confident and knowing no matter what happens, because the ball's in his hands, they have a chance, and he showed that. This game is going to be awesome, man. Stick it right in
It's
my
gonna be
veins.
fantastic.
I believe Buffalo wins. I believe that total of 52 or whatever it was, I think that I would go over on that. Um,
Mhm.
and we're going to see if Miami what they can do, because the Buffalo's defense is the real deal. It was passable last year, but they're legit, man. This defense is super legit.
Not a lot of great odds in terms of touchdowns, but man, we'll probably see like 4 or 5 in this game, right? I mean, Diggs is minus 140. We talked last week about putting these like quote unquote chalky guys into, some sort of parlay if you wanted
Yep.
to, or like you could do like a Diggs and Adams, or you can do a Justin Jefferson and I don't know, Travis Kelsey, things like that. Diggs is minus 140. Josh Allen's plus 110 to have a touchdown. I mean, that's not bad. Tyreek Hill's plus 110. Davis is plus 125. Jalen Waddle, all he's been doing is the Waddle dance. I mean, it's one of the best touchdown dances in the world. I mean, when you bet on Jalen Waddle, you do the dance with him when he scores, and you watch the money pile up. He's plus 145. Not bad. Dawson Knox hasn't done a whole lot, but in this kind of game and setting, if
He was pretty. He
attention's
was
going to
pretty
be on
involved
Diggs,
last game.
more so than week
Pretty
one, you're
involved.
right. Plus 175 is not bad to kind of take a shot on him. Heck, the Bills defense at plus 370. I mean, we're getting nuts here now, but like
Mhm.
0.25 units on that defense, and Tua
Let's
maybe
go.
a little bit of a turnover. Let's go. We like points. We like offense. I'm not seeing anything for catch props, but I'm willing to get in like a same game parlay. This could be pretty fun. You could do like a Josh Allen yards. Books are still hanging 1.5 touchdowns on him. It's juiced like minus 190, minus 200, but you can put into the same game parlay. It's okay. You could do like yards for Waddle and Tyreek and Diggs. So there's a lot that you can do. I actually think Miami covers. I think it goes over, but I think Miami covers. 6 is a lot to me. Division game. I know Buffalo's own them. I think we'll see maybe some sort of backdoor cover, potential field goal game or whatnot, but I do like Miami, or do like a Buffalo rather. And I think, putting them into a teaser to drop down or something just to win the game, I think is, I'm interested in them in KC is like a 2-game teaser. Okay, we'll move on. Should be pretty good though. Detroit, Minnesota. This is another one too. We should maybe just, of course, we're going a little long on certain games. We still got some time here to get through these, but Detroit, Minnesota, -6, and then Cincinnati and the Jets -5. So let's do Vikings and Lions here. This should be a fun game. Could see a lot of points. Could see a lot of offense. We talked on Tuesday about Kirk Cousins, under the bright lights, just can't get it done. Maybe a rebound here at home against a Lions team, but Detroit's scrappy, man. They hang around. 6 is a lot for me. Another division game. I think this is another game where we can see a backdoor cover. Goff and Amon-Ra have looked good. Amon-Ra is tied with Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown for the most games in a row with 8+ grabs. He's done it 8 straight times. I think that they're definitely going to try to get that record. So I think he'll see a lot of targets. I'm willing to take anything for him over 6.5. Saw last week 6.5 plus money. Jefferson's going to eat again. I think a bounce back game from Dalvin Cook. Where are you at here?
Yeah, I like the bounce back from Cook. I was wrong on Amon St. Brown. I mean, I could admit that. I just thought with where they took Williams in the draft, DJ Shark coming over, I just felt like they just added personnel, because they're saying, like, look, Amon-Ra St. Brown came on at the end of the year, but he's not that guy. That's what Detroit's move said to me. It's not that they don't like him. They're just saying Amon-Ra St. Brown can't do this on his own, and he's proven. I look like an idiot. I mean, I don't have him anywhere, and I've got massive regret there. He's a great player. Fall in love with him watching, Hard Knocks and who he is, and he remembers every player that was drafted in front of him.
Yeah.
He can name them all and where they went to school and stuff. Like, he's
What
a psycho.
What a boss. I love it.
He's a psychopath, right?
Yeah.
Still catches 200 balls after every practice. He's been good. And when they get Williams, and if DJ Shark starts figuring in a little bit more, and even Hawkinson, this is a hard offense to stop. I think I have Jared Goff as my second quarterback in a 2-quarterback league, and I'm pretty excited about that, man. I took him as my third, kind of as a backup, but until he proves otherwise, I'm going to start him every week.
Yeah, I think you should too. You spread it around. You got Amon-Ra there. You got Hawkinson. You mentioned Chark, his deep balls. Yeah, so Amon-Ra has been great. Seeing his receiving yards at 70.5, I'd take that. Justin Jefferson's high at 96.5. I mean, we don't want to give you the chalky picks, but I think he definitely has a bounce back game here. His catch props at 7.5. It's plus money. Not seeing any catches here for Amon-Ra, but I'd be willing to go back to Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook rushing yards to see if we can get something for Cook. It wasn't up when I looked earlier. It could be up now, and it is. 76.5 seems high, but we've seen some teams run all over Detroit in the first couple weeks. They've had issues stopping everybody so far that they played. Philly and Washington, they've had issues there. They're scoring. They're kind of keeping pace, which is nice, but I would go with Dalvin Cook. I like his over rushing attempts. If it's at 17.5, I think he probably touches the ball near 20 times in this game. We'll see a lot of Cook, and I think we'll see a lot of Jefferson. And we do have, I didn't see it for Amon-Ra. So we'll continue to move on here. Jets and Bengals. What you got? Cincy, New York, Flacco leads the league in pass attempts, spreading around to everyone. Garrett Wilson,
like
couple touchdowns last week, just like we drew it up. Bengals 5. Do they get right here? Super Bowl hangover? Could you imagine the talk in Cincy if they dropped to 0-3?
I don't believe Joe Burrow will allow that.
I don't think so either.
I love Joe Burrow, and the Cincinnati story from last year was amazing. But they need, and I talked about this a ton. What were we told? What was the huge, points over and over? They improved the offensive line. My point is, there is no way until we see this team play in games, know that the offensive line is better because they signed 2 other players. It's a unit, guys. It's not a single player. They all have to be working together and doing the right things simultaneously at the same time. Some of the best offensive lines are a bunch of guys that are like the Patriots did this for years, right? These are guys that were 7th round picks and 6th round picks and nobody wanted. And Belichick's just picking them off the heap because they're smart and they're quick and they have good technique and they become this amazing unit. Don't listen to this stuff in the offseason about, the offensive line is improved. We don't know that until we see the games. And if anything, the offensive line is worse. They're going to get Joe Burrow killed. He's the most sacked quarterback in 3 games ever, I think, in the history of the NFL. So,
and last year he set records too.
Yeah, right. And he lived through that. And now we're testing fate again. Do I think they can beat the Jets? Yes. Would it surprise me if the Jets defense pressure him and this comes right down to the wire and possibly the Jets win? That wouldn't surprise me either. That's where we're at, man. It's crazy to think about.
Well, did they lose to the Jets last year? I know that the Jets hung around.
Can't remember.
I'm going to double check right now. I think they either lost or it was like a last second win. I had that off the top of my head. They did. They lost. They lost 34-31 in New York against the Jets. I remember that. And Burrow, that's kind of when Burrow went off after that.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a loss. And then they actually had back-to-back losses, Cleveland. And then he kind of went on a bit of a run, especially towards the end of the season, wrapping up with like 8 touchdowns in his last 2 games. But so this Jets team is better than last year. And they hung with them last season. In fact, they beat them, as we just mentioned. I think like chalky scores here, like Jamar Chase is scoring a touchdown here in this game. You mentioned Joe Burrow. I think he finds a way to win. I'm a little uneasy to lay that 5, to be honest. The way that I've seen this offense roll and the offensive line, and the way that the Jets are coming, off a high, right? Yeah, that's right, Albert. They did. Coming off that was the Mike White game. That's
Crazy.
right. Mike White. Coming off a high with that win against Cleveland, they're feeling themselves a little bit. Joe Flacco's throwing the ball. The defense is not, not that awful really in New York. Let's see if Sauce Gardner can get in there. But it's like a complete stay away from me. I wouldn't chuck bucks on this spread, but I think the Jets will hang. I think Cincy wins, but I think it'll be like a field goal. A couple guys I wanted to bring up, I like Breece Hall, but I think it's happening, slowly starting to happen over Michael Carter, but Michael Carter needs to be started ahead of him because he is still getting first and second down opportunities. He is getting a lot of that third down opportunities. He's got, last game, he had 5 catches. He's cleared the 2.5 catches and easily in his first 2 games. His catch prop is at 2.5. I take over 2.5, and I take anything over 19.5 receiving yards for Michael Carter. But I really would like to see Breece Hall start to overtake him. And Garrett Wilson is sitting there at 44.5 receiving yards. We don't have any catch props, but I do like Jamar Chase pretty heavily inside this game to, it's go time, and Burrow will go to Jamar. I think we'll see that early and often. Okay, let's rapid fire through these last 2. Let's look at this list. There's some games here that kind of stand out to you. Philly's at 6.5. They opened up at 4. I think this is a bit of a trap, to be honest. My thoughts is that this is a division game and it's going to be a lot closer. Eagles are on a short week here. I know that they're really feeling themselves, but going into Washington, I think that this is a field goal game written all over it. I think Philly finds a way to win. I like Jalen Hurts over 50 rushing yards. He's hit easily in the first 2 games. He hit consistently last year as well. You got the Saints 3-point favorites against Carolina. The Chargers are 7-point favorites against Jacksonville. Let's see about Herbert, right? I think that's a game actually Jacksonville could hang around. I know the defense is really, really good in LA. I'm a firm believer on the Chargers, but I need to see Herbert, in there playing before I'm laying anything on them to win by a touchdown. And then this Packers and Bucks game, man, I think this is going to be low scoring. I like under 40. The Bucks haven't given up anything, at all. Defense has been strong. Julio's not practicing. Godwin's not practicing. He's not going to play. Mike Evans is suspended. They just signed Cole Beasley. I don't know how they're going to be able to move the ball. And the Packers got issues as well offensively. So I think that this game, I would actually lean on the Packers to win it, take them on the money line plus money. I just think that it'll be not that it'll be a boring game. I just don't think we'll see a lot offensively. Out of those 4 games, which one kind of has your eye? Like Eagles, Washington, we could see a lot of points in that game. We could see a lot of scores if we're calling some touchdowns.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the funnest game to watch. I think, Washington, man, I mean, the offense there is surprising. Everyone, me included. What a great problem to have. Like, Jahan Dotson has looked amazing. Curtis Samuel all of a sudden is Curtis Samuel again. And let's not forget about the best wide receiver of the team, Terry McLaurin. The running backs have been getting it done enough. Carson Wentz is never seen a throw that he doesn't think he can make. That can be problematic sometimes, but man, it's fun to watch. Has some mobility still. Like I think that he is going to keep the Washington Commanders in every game just because he believes. I mean, to a fault in himself, right? And I think you want that as a quarterback. Even when they probably shouldn't believe that much. I think Carson Wentz falls into that pile. He does some wild stuff sometimes, but man, he's fun to watch. The offense has been great. We talked about the Eagles. I'm happy most for you because I know you've been an Eagles fans forever.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before, and looking back at the schedule and looking through it this week, I believe the Eagles can go undefeated. I believe that. Goodness. I believe that in my heart. I mean, I 100% believe it because of the personnel, because of the defense, because of the offensive line, and most importantly, because of who Jalen Hurts has turned himself into.
Crazy time.
The old guys from the Miami Dolphins are sweating. I don't care what anyone says. I know it's week 3, but I believe that they can. I believe they can be undefeated. Looking at their schedule and who they got to play.
It is a pretty soft schedule moving forward, but things will happen in the NFL. I know you're kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but the schedule is like it's very favorable.
I'm not saying a tongue in cheek. I believe they can go undefeated.
Oh my goodness. I have a feeling that this game this week is a George is in the house because I didn't do that. I think that this game is a bit of a trap. I think they find a way to get it done. I'm worried about Terry McLaurin this week. You saw Darius Slay, what he did to Justin Jefferson. Yeah. He's still elite. He's still very elite in this league. I think we could see a lot of Curtis Samuel again. Look for Jahan Dotson. That'd be my guy. Maybe it's for Washington to score a touchdown. Dotson. And you know what? If Jalen Hurts is just going to be plus money all the time for a touchdown, why not? I mean, he's
Yep.
got like 3 here in a couple games. He's definitely calling his own number when they get inside the 5, inside the 10. They have a great offensive line. They do a great job of running the rock. Jalen Hurts is plus 110 for a rushing touchdown, and as I mentioned, over 50 rushing yards. I'm certainly in on that. You know, he's 22-1 to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. I've seen crazier bets. I'm not saying to put your mortgage on it. I'm saying maybe your coffee money. You know what? Maybe you don't have a coffee today. You just put it on Jalen Hurts to, to have the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. Crazier things have happened. My
Yep.
goodness. Can you imagine a quarterback leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns? I mean, he could get 10.
Could happen.
10 wouldn't be leading the league, especially Jonathan Taylor, like 20 last year. But anyways, we'll continue to go here. We got another minute here left in Game Plus. We'll say goodbye. There's only a couple more games to kind of wrap up. Do you want to touch on Tampa and Green Bay? There's not a lot to really dive into in terms of props from the Tampa Bay side of things because we just don't know. But I don't
Yep.
think we'll see a lot of offense. I think we'll see a lot of Fournette, a lot of Dillon, and a whole lot of Aaron Jones. I'm willing to take Aaron Jones receiving yards and catches, maybe get involved with like a Fournette or Dillon touchdown. But I just don't think we'll see a lot of offense here, man. 2 really strong defenses, and neither of these offenses are really blowing me away to start the season.
Yeah, and also quarterbacks that most importantly want to win, right? They're both of them will check out of a pass if they see something. Aaron Rodgers said we have to have ways to have both of these guys on the field at all times. They need to be touching the ball the most out of any players, and he's right. And Tom Brady cares about winning. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care about if he threw for 15 yards and they win. He doesn't care. I mean, he already has all the records, and what he wants to do is win. By that wide receiver core, they're making it more and more difficult on him every week. Guys are just, I mean, it's crazy. The Tampa Bay wide receiver core and the San Francisco running back. If I'm a running back, I never want to play in San Francisco. And if I'm a wide receiver, I never want to play in Tampa Bay. I just avoid it. There's some kind of a weird curse. Think about the running back injuries in San Francisco in the last 4 or 5 years. It's insane.
It really
there is something going on. I mean, there is something going on.
It's wild. What I will say before we say goodbye to Game Plus, I think we'll see a little bit more Allen Lazard involved. He's on the field and he's blocking, but I think we'll see a little bit more Allen Lazard. I noticed things opened up for, Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb with Allen Lazard on the field. That was interesting. But to me, it's the backs in Green Bay. If you want to get involved with the Jones receiving yard prop, maybe a Dillon score. He still is getting a majority of the carries out of that backfield, even though Jones is, the RB1. They're both solid. RB1A, RB1A or B or whatever you want to go. They're both solid backs. If all these guys miss in Tampa, Rashad Perriman, I don't know, as like a dart throw for over receiving yards, he did find a way to score a touchdown in that game. I mean,
that would be my pick to score a touchdown.
That'd be my dart throw pick for there as well. We will say goodbye to Game Plus. We appreciate you guys. If you want to see the rest of Set Bet Spike, hop over to our FTN Network YouTube page. We're going to hammer home these last couple of games and call some touchdowns. So enjoy the football this week, guys. Any questions at the Eric Young and at Chris Meaney. Have a good one, and we'll be back on Tuesday. All right, we want to get to this question here from this viewer, half PPR. I got offered Zeke, Gibson, and Sutton for Terry and Eckler. I would, I think Eckler is the best player in this deal, and usually I'm like, oh wow, get the best player available. But I kind of feel like getting 3 for 2 here. I think getting Zeke, Gibson, and Sutton. I like Sutton over Terry. Terry's been great. We like Terry, but as we talked about with Washington, all of a sudden there's like 3 mouths to feed now. Dotson's been great. Curtis Samuel's been great. I am a little worried about Gibson moving forward. With Robinson coming back soon, I do have some concerns there, and I definitely have some concerns about Zeke. But I think Sutton over Terry is great, and you're getting running back depth too for Eckler there. I'd like to know who you're dropping because you are going to have to drop somebody, right, to acquire 3. Take 2. You're also going to have to drop someone from your roster. So you got to keep that in mind as well. I think Eckler is a really good buy low, but as I mentioned, getting 3 there. What side are you on? Is there one that you're on there?
Yeah, I mean, I just think Zeke is going to play, but he isn't going to do anything. He looks broken. Gibson, my worry is Brian Robinson is already practicing. And when he comes back, the coaches love him. The team loves him. I think that he's just going to play because of the feel-good story. So Gibson, and I mean McKissick's there, and like you just don't know. He may not touch the ball enough to be bothered starting him. Sutton, what did we hear? The drumbeat of like, oh, he's the best, he's the best. The Denver Broncos are a disaster. Russell Wilson
Yeah.
does not look like the player that he was. The coaching staff is inept, and Sutton's a great player, but I mean, he's just not getting the work. So I'm sticking with the Eckler side of that. The other
Okay.
guys
All right.
they worry me too much. And look, I have Sutton everywhere, and I'm terrified.
I think he's gonna be fine. Like he's getting a lot of targets, at least getting targets. But you're not wrong. The Broncos offense looks like a mess.
Like they just don't have a clue.
No, Nathaniel Hackett, my goodness, he's in over his head.
God.
All right, these last couple. Let's get through these last couple. Rams and Cardinals, Falcons and Seahawks. I actually don't have anything to add here for the Falcons and Seahawks. Looking for Kyle Pitts. If you wanted to take a shot, but I mean, proceed with caution, right? Because this guy's not getting any looks. But the squeaky wheel thing could happen, and his catch prop is at a really, it's at an all-time low for Kyle Pitts. I mean, his receiving yards at 46.5. Receptions, I think, is 3.5, but it's really juiced. 3.5 at -170. Like, we're not doing any of that. Drake London is 4.5 at -145. I can get behind that, but it's still a little bit juiced. I think I'd maybe rather take the yards here, but I like Seattle actually at home. Falcons haven't shown me a lot through 2 weeks. Had some moments, they've scored some points, but they haven't been able to stop anybody. And this is just going to be an ugly game, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt here to Seattle at home to win this game. And then for the Rams and Cardinals, I like LA 3.5 here. I know it's, division game, Rams on the road, but the Cardinals had that nice come from behind win last week, but they got a lot going on too. Injury wise, Rondell again this week. They could be without their starting running back and James Conner. A nice 1-2 punch there to the backfield. Cam Akers looked good last week. Akers and Henderson. I'd stay away from both of their props. I would start Akerson over Henderson, but it's really, really close. Henderson got the goal line work, which is certainly valuable. I think both guys could be played as a flex. Cooper Kupp's going to continue to eat. He did have dud games actually against Arizona last year, but he's going to continue to eat every week. Robinson touchdown. Higbee's going to get targets is until Van Jefferson gets back, so he can be played in a tight end in deeper formats. Dortch is interesting as like a flex in deep leagues, but as we talked about, if there's no Connor, Darrell Williams or Darrell Williams rather, I think will be the lead here, but I'd stay away from all props. But we could see some points. Touchdowns outside of Kupp. Do you have a preference? Akers, Henderson?
For me, I would go Henderson just because he's getting the goal line. I think they're going to split. I think they're going to, both touch the ball. But I think if when they get in close, and they will, because the Rams are a good team, they're going to give it to Henderson. So I would go with him because of the more likely to score a touchdown. I think the Rams handle Arizona. Look, I love Kyler Murray. I love watching him play. Arizona they're just not a very good team. They don't have a ton of talent at the wide receiver position. And for a team that has, 3 and 4 wide receivers on the field at all times, that's problematic. If Connor doesn't play, I really like Darrell Williams. That's a guy to score. I picked him up in a few leagues. I think, you could stash him. Obviously, if Connor plays, then no. But if he doesn't, I mean, what we know about Kingsbury is he gets inside the red zone and he runs the ball. So, I just love that for the running backs.
One thing I will say about Arizona is this is just a team for years that have struggled against tight ends, right? They just have. Back in the day, I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, it was just like automatic blindfold. Just go ahead and bet the tight end to get touchdowns and whatnot. They've given up the most fantasy points so far to tight ends. Higbee has 20 targets, 12 grabs, and 110 yards in 2 games. 2 games this season. That's it. So his catch prop is at 4.5. 12 catches in 2 games. I'm in. And I think he scores a touchdown. Why not take a little shot on him? He's -135 for 5 grabs. What is he to score a touchdown? He's definitely going to be plus money. If we don't have it. I don't have anything here. He's got to be. Let me check the prop shop right quick. We're going to get out of here, guys, in like a couple minutes. But this is one that I like if we're kind of calling a dart throw here. Touchdown +170. I thought it would be a little bit better than that. It's 10-1 to score 2. Let's not get too crazy here. But 10-1 or +170 for a touchdown. I like Higbee in this game. All right, let's wrap up here with these final 2. San Francisco 49ers, 1.5 against the Broncos. We kind of just touched on the Broncos and we were all
Yep.
over them. I think that this is going to be an under. I like the under in this game. I don't think we'll see a lot of offense. In fact, I actually think the Broncos should be favored. I mean, I do like their roster. I know they're going through some stuff. This is more on Nathaniel Hackett, I think. They're the home team
Yep.
here. Mile High is a tough place to play. But my favorite play in this game is the under 45. I think this is like I don't think it'd be 14. I think I could see like 17-14 game, something happening like that. I like Jeff Wilson. If you can get anything over 17 carries, he probably gets about 20 carries in this game. No Tyrion Davis-Price. I think it's going to be a lot of running on both sides of the football. Javonte, a little bit of Melvin Gordon, Jeff Wilson in there. Not really into anybody else. Maybe Sutton, just because of what we said. He's getting targets. We'll see if Judy plays. He's getting targets, getting receiving yards. And then the Cowboys and Giants game. CeeDee Lamb got a lot of looks, a lot of targets. Cooper Rush played pretty good, actually, in that game. The Giants are 2-0, my goodness. But the Cowboys have owned the Giants over the past few years. And, of course, Dallas is going through some things. But I would lean with Dallas winning this game because of their defense and the pressure that they've been able to get on quarterbacks. And Parsons he's just going to be one of the best in the game at his position. Maybe
he might be one of the
already.
best to ever
He's
play,
so
man.
good.
He's an animal.
He's so good. And he's going to be all over Daniel Jones and company, right? Still a depleted offensive line, in my opinion. So I like the boys. I lean Broncos. I like the under, actually, in both of those final two games. Anything to add before we get out of here?
No, I mean, you said it all. I do think, I think the Cowboys win, but I also think that the Giants defense is better than everybody thinks.
Yep.
And I think Cooper Rush playing quarterback is problematic, which is a good thing for the Giants D. I'm going to start the Giants D in a bunch of season-long leagues. I think they're probably in DFS. They're probably super affordable. Picks, possible pick six, sacks, tackles. So I don't know. It's a gut feel, but I think that defense is way better than people. They got two good cornerbacks, and they get a little bit of pressure on Cooper Rush. He's going to be tossing it up. So I like that.
I like both defenses, actually. I think they're both really good streaming options for sure. And I'd roll with Dallas all year. Like, they are a legitimate defense. They get some pressure, get a lot of sacks. Higbee props from Adam Redcamp in the house. He says, I almost missed out on the show. I suck. You don't suck, dude. We appreciate you. And this is huge. This is something that I kind of glossed over, but Kittle being back is definitely huge for Jimmy G. I like him a lot more with Jimmy G than Trey Lance. I wasn't really on my radar to draft Kittle. I have no shares of Kittle. He's going too early for me. It was mostly because of Trey Lance. I didn't know how that would kind of pan out, but I think it is good news for Jimmy G to have Kittle back, and good for for Jimmy G to be the quarterback here. So again, just to kind of wrap up here, a few of my favorite picks. I like the Chiefs here on the spread. I like the Raiders. I like Miami to keep it close, but I definitely like the over in that game. I like Detroit to cover here. I'm going to stay away from the Cincy Jets, but I do have a feeling that the Jets will hang around. This is a field goal game, but I do like Cincinnati to win the game. I wouldn't go there in Survivor, guys. No way. I like the Commanders to cover. I think Philly wins, but I like the Commanders to cover. I like the over in that game. We didn't touch on Saints and Carolina. I think that the Saints win. It sounds like Alvin Kamara will be back in that game. Baker's had some moments, but Carolina hasn't shown us really anything in 2 weeks. And I like the Saints defense, so I think they'll give Baker some fits. Got to wait to lay that 7. I got to wait on Justin Fields, just confirmation that he's going to get in. If he's not, and it's Chase Daniel, I think the Jags kind of hang around in that game. The under between Green Bay and Tampa, the Packers win. We both like the Rams to cover. I like Seattle at home. I'm not going to put my hard-earned bucks on this game at all. I'm not interested in actually anything. Kyle Pitts shows up. He shows up. I'm not putting any bucks on him to show up. 49ers and Broncos under there, like the under in Dallas and New York as well. Maybe your favorite touchdown call of the day, EY, in this game. Somebody that you have that you feel like he's scoring a touchdown.
I said it earlier, CEH is a guy that I believe in for sure. And like you said, coming back, George Kittle would not surprise me whatsoever.
Love CEH. Got CEH written down here. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Diggs and Waddle, Jefferson and Amon-Ra, Chase, Jalen Hurts. I'd shy away from Terry with Slay. It could be a Dotson game. staying away from everything really in Green Bay, like Aaron Jones, like Allen Robinson and Higbee, like Javonte, and staying away from everything in Dallas and New York. I don't think anybody really does a whole lot there in that game. Okay, guys, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out here. Good luck with all your picks this week. And you have any questions, at Chris Meaney, at the Eric Young, start and sit, props, touchdowns, all that good stuff. Good luck in the NFL this week, and we'll be back on Tuesday. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. Cheers.